Well, good afternoon. About 3 months ago, this actual video is a follow-up on one that I did in August of this year. It was called "Are You Being Hateful?" And what I mean by that is, are you feeling or starting to feel a sense of strong dislike or hate towards someone? It could be someone on your job. It could be a relationship that ended. It could be anything. And I want to look at a particular case of a young man that was experiencing this towards someone. And who that person is, I guess I will share that with you in a minute. But first, before I introduce who this person is, I want to say that at the end of my last video, I mentioned that Brant Jean, or Jean, is the brother of Bothan Jean. Bothan Jean was killed by a police officer, Amber Geiger, who claimed that after working a very long shift, had came to her home, what she thought was her apartment, and when she somehow or other the door was open, she walked in and there was a man, I guess, sitting. She saw a silhouette of someone and thought that was her apartment and killed him. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and towards the end of her trial, or either at the end of her trial, before or after the her sentencing phase, Brant Jean, who as I said earlier, was the younger brother of Botham, he did something that astonished and maybe confused and caused a lot of people who some understood what was happening. But this is what the question I posed. Since he had asked the judge, could he embrace her? And then he said he forgave her. And there were a lot of comments where people were saying they didn't understand, or a lot of other comments that seemed to indicate people's frustration about how could you, and why would you forgive someone who killed your brother? Now, let's go back a little bit. I read an article on CNN that was conducted by CNN interviewing his mother, and him too as well, or excerpts of him giving interviews. Perhaps he was interviewed by CNN directly, but this is the source of where I got this from. And to look back at his life and to, first of all, fact, according out of his own mouth, he had said he had hated her. He hated her. He hated her. So there was a time prior to him saying he forgave her, and prior to this moment that was recorded for the whole world to see, him forgiving the person that murdered his brother, there was a time when he had strong hate for her. Understandable. By all accounts, Botham Jean was a very kind, considerate, and inspirational, kind-hearted young man. And it seemed that everyone that spoke at the trial, that witnesses to testify about his life, he seemed to live a life that was productive, and he seemed to like to help people. So you have his younger brother. I would imagine that Botham could have been like a mentor to him. His older brother, they probably shared a lot of things in life. What more of a brother could you have? So for a while, his brother struggled with this. He struggled with it. He said he hated her. His mother, in the same article, it said that she was scared or concerned, I imagine concerned for him, because he was very angry, but he wasn't speaking. She says that she remembers him hitting walls. So he went through all that whole family did, including their father, went through shock to hear about this. He was sitting on the couch, I believe, watching television. All of a sudden, here comes what he thought was an intruder. So to hear of your loved one, their last moments on life was spent, what happened? That had to be appalling, shocking, and debilitating and hurtful. and horrific to hear how he died. So we have that background. We have that background about him. And something occurred, some kind of metamorphosis or change occurred to go from him feeling the way he felt to him offering to forgive Amber. And in that article, it also had said, now let me go back, let me stop right there, come back to this article. The question was that I left at my other video was that, well, for the individuals who were criticizing him, would you rather that what's better, that he would hate her for the rest of his life, or at some point should he forgive her? What will it do to him as a person, his personality, his soul, and his life going forward, holding on to hate? And imagine if you and I were going for a walk, and I say, hey, let's meet at the park. Let's go for a walk. And I say, as I'm getting out the car, I said, hey, could you come over for a minute? You say, well, sure. Hey, can you grab those suitcases for me? You're like, grab your what for? Well, I just want you to carry them. I'm going to go over here and there's some things I want to show you. And of course, you pick them up and they're like, hey, these are kind of heavy. Well, it's not that far, just a little bit farther over there. And you carry the suitcases. And after a while, you're saying, how much farther we got to go? What do you have in here? But after a while, you're like, look, I got to put these down. That's kind of like what hate is like. It becomes heavy and burdensome. And I imagine there's a lot of other things that could occur to our mind and our personality. So at some point, it's something that we want to try to diminish or to let go or to get past or get around it somehow. And I guess what I'm saying is that in this article, Brandt was saying that he was there and heard Amber, from what he assessed was an apology. She apologized, or she showed some remorse. I remember seeing it myself. Somehow or another, that touched him, that did something. He said it touched his heart, it opened his heart. And he's also, in this article quoted, I read that he likes to help people. He likes to inspire people. And I think that was the beginning point of him. I didn't have a time reference when, at one point after his brother's being murdered, did this occur? How much time went by from the time that, I guess, when he saw this at the trial, when she said this at the trial? I don't know if it was a matter of days. I'm not sure. But an apology really can go a long ways. Apologizing, a sincere, heartfelt apology when we offend. Now, this is obviously way more of a wide, hurtful and life-changing situation that no one wants to go through. But from what he said, that she apologized. So once again, an apology can go a long ways when we have wronged someone, when we have done something. It doesn't always mean that the person's going to be receptive to the apology. But the fact that she did it, this is what touched or did something to the heart of Brandt. Now, also keep in mind of his religious background. He's a Christian. And anyone that's a Christian, even if you're a Muslim, the Quran talks about forgiveness. I knew a Muslim that I was, who practiced the Muslim faith, that was a school bus driver, and he showed me the Quran on an app, and I said, wow, look at that, and he would show me different things, and I asked him, I said, does the Quran talk about forgiveness? He said, yes, we're supposed to forgive. So even the Quran talks about that. The Bible talks about it. And somehow or another, so what I'm saying is an apology can go a long way. So if you feel you owe someone an apology, that can go a long ways. And sometimes people will be receptive to it, and sometimes they won't be. But the fact that at least that you do it, you are showing remorse and regret that you hurt or offended, or you caused some kind of harm or embarrassment, or you misjudged someone, or you said something out of your mouth that you really should not have said. And it helps at least for a person to know that, hey, I'm sorry. It gives them a sense of I really wish I regret doing that. I hope you can forgive me. So that started it off with him, what he experienced, and this allowed him to consider her words. So also, God forbid if this were to happen to me, and I have 3 children, and I wonder if that happened to me, or if I was hit by a car or shot or something, and my life was waning, and the days and minutes, hours are ticking down, and maybe I had a few days I was going to live, and I had this sense that I wasn't going to make it, and the doctors told me I don't think so. He's in and out of consciousness. If my children were to tell me, or my wife or family members were to tell me, I'm going to hate this person for the rest of my life for what they did to you, I wouldn't want them to do that. I would say I understand that if I don't survive, and you're gonna be hurt and grieve and mourn. But I hope that at some point you will forgive this person, even if they intended to do it, even if they don't show remorse. And this doesn't mean you don't pursue justice when things like this happen, but I would hope that they would, at some point, not carry, like I mentioned about those heavy suitcases, that they wouldn't carry this around and let this have power over them, or to ruin their thought life or heart life. So basically, that's what I really wanted to point out, that with Branchine, you have to look a little bit about his life, his culture, his upbringing, and also keep in mind that he probably, although I didn't read that, but I would think this is something his brother probably would want him to do. By all accounts, you would think that, I wouldn't think both of them would want you to hate this lady for the rest of your life and to carry hate for her.